Hello, Mandy. Welcome to
Hello.
Lounging with the Lasses. How excited I am for today because this is kind of the first time we've had a chat, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's weird because you do lots of similar things to what I do. And I think you can bring this is what I'm looking forward to today is you can bring a wealth of knowledge to our lasses. So I'm really excited.
Done a lot.
You have. And when I saw when you wrote into the show to request to come on the show, there were so many different things that you do. But what I'd love you to do, because I'm so intrigued, because I've seen your house, right, on one of the lasses sent us a link and went, have you seen a house? I was like, whoa. Tell us where you are right now and what your environment
This
is.
is my kitchen. This is my
Yeah.
gin collection. And this is a
Okay.
giant floral mural. Their baby two cats who interrupt this Zoom conversation because they don't really care. They don't really care what kind of meeting I'm in. I was in one with a woman in New York and they decided to come and stand all over the keyboard. But luckily that lady was a cat lover too. You have no choice. So yes, and my kitchen is the colours of the pansexual flag.
Yeah.
And which I am pansexual, but I only worked it out afterwards, and I was like, oh, that's so appropriate. So yeah, I wanted it to be as much of me as possible. There are still lots of rooms which are not done. I finished the rooms that I have done in like late February 2020, and then we went into lockdown, and that just zapped all my energy. You know, when other people were excited because they were going to decorate during lockdown, I was over it by then.
I do have to say, like, because I love all the, you know what I'm like for colour as well. And when I was looking through, it was on the Metro website. And
That's right, yeah.
yes, I was having a look and I was like, how did you get the time? Because I look at my house, right? And I'm like, oh, and when I read it, I thought you were totally feeling all the feels that I've got about my house. I'm like, that needs doing, that needs doing. Where did you find the time to do all that?
It was January, and I usually don't work in January as a photographer.
Right.
So I've never really worked in January as a photographer. I tried the first couple of years and then I decided it wasn't worth it, so I might as well take the time off. And usually up until this year, which has been very different financially, usually I've made enough in the December to get me through until about March, which I had in 2020 if we hadn't gone into lockdown. You know, it's like, it's crazy the way it works, but I'm glad that I did what I did, because I'm very much happier now that my house has my personality.
Lush, lush. Thanks for setting the scene there, Mandy. So 15 years in business, I believe. You might be more than that now. And you're a complete entrepreneur. You turn your hands to a lot of things. I am interested to hear when I ask you, tell us what you do, what you're going to tell us you do.
Well, so I'm still a photographer. That is kind of behind everything that I did. That was my first business, although I'd been blogging before that. I blogged when it wasn't even fashionable to blog. And I am a card carrying journalist still. I used to write for the HuffPost. I don't do that anymore, but I have Facebook Protect because I'm a recognized journalist. And I write. I still write about travel. Occasionally I get paid to write about travel, which is nice. I have a gift boutique. I print my own designs. I design and print and hand press my own things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's a neurodiverse mindset that makes us very good at a lot of things, and also that I get bored quite quickly.
Yeah.
So I need to like constantly do things, and also I do have that entrepreneurial mindset. If I think about things, I'm like, oh, how can I make money out of that? Because there's only me, you know, like I live on my own now with my two cats, but I have to support me, and I have to try and like support my girls a little bit, even though they're like grown up. I say girls, they still seem like they're like 3 and 7 to me, even though they're like 18 and 19. They were never 3 and 7 together because there's only 16 months between them. But whenever I see them in my mind, Luby is always 3 and Abigail's about 7. So yeah, I've had to manage a long time on my own, and I think when you're an entrepreneur, I think the biggest thing that you need to do is have like multiple income streams.
Yeah, definitely.
Can't rely on one single thing. And although people think photographers make a fortune, and we do have a really good hourly rate if we were working 40 hours a week, as in if we were like out working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
But we don't.
Yeah.
We're essentially out for like the weekend because that's when everyone has photo shoots, unless you're doing commercial photography, which is just not my bag really.
Yeah.
It's not as wonderful as you think. Well, it's not now because the market's so saturated. So I think like having extra kind of income, whether it be from like Google ads or whatever, what's it called, the Google ad, not the paying for Google ads, but as in making money from Google ads. I make a little bit of money from like TikTok as well now, which is just blown my mind,
which we will get onto absolutely in this podcast.
Content creator, yeah, like that, yeah.
So I think it's what's interesting as well, Mandy, what I'm certainly finding now that I'm talking to a lot more people, and I'm classing myself as an entrepreneur.
Which you are entrepreneur, yeah.
It's when you've just touched on it there. I'm starting to realise that I've most likely got a neurodiverse mindset. I think it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs have. I think it's becoming more evident, isn't it? And there's a connection with entrepreneurs and how you think. So the fact that you've touched on that's interesting, because everyone I seem to talk to now is like, have you been tested for ADHD?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, but I probably should.
Yeah, I think do it. I don't even think you need to test now. I think you just watch a TikTok video and it says, if you have 7 out of these things, then you may be. And I think when I did it, I had like 12 out of 12. So I think, I just go with it now.
I probably know you mostly for your boutique. This is what I say all the time that comes up. So Philomena's Boutique, tell us about that. How, why, what's your whole vision?
So we were in lockdown, couldn't work as a photographer, like literally lost all of my income overnight.
What kind of photography were you doing then?
The same as I do now, weddings and kids and their families. I don't really do a lot of portraiture anymore, but I do a few weddings. I've got about 18 booked this year. I love them. You get to go and you get to create art, and people love each other, and they stand up and they tell everyone that they love each other, and it gives me hope of being like it just gives me hope. And I need to shut my WhatsApp down.
Oh, that's fine.
I forgot it was the one thing that I mustn't have shut down. Hang on, I need to. There we go. I turned everything off apart from WhatsApp.
I just messaged me whole family and went, don't interrupt us for the next few hours.
Luby came over. I was like, I'm not expecting to see you today. Don't dare interrupt me. Although I think she's been on every single live that I ever did, when I had other businesses. So yes, so I lost all my income overnight, and then the government gave me a bounce back loan, and I was sitting at home. I was in my garden. What was I doing? I taught photography to kids in my Facebook group for 12 weeks every single day on live, and I hate my face, but it was amazing. And because in the first lockdown, they didn't really have like a lesson plan together, did they? They just kids were allowed to do whatever they wanted, and kids were bored. So I taught them creative photography every day for 12 weeks, and it is probably one of the best things that I've ever done. And I got a coffee account then, and because people wanted to pay, and it supported me. It paid my rent. It was amazing, but I was still sitting doing nothing. And I just decided that I would start a gift boutique because in times of crisis, we need little treats. That's how Hershey started. Hershey's launched in the Great Depression, and they were successful because chocolate is something you can buy even at the worst of times. So I kind of went with that, and then it's sort of evolved, because last year I decided I wanted to start making my own things because I'm super creative, and I'd injured my cruciate ligament, so I couldn't really move very far. And if I'm not creative, my brain implodes and collapses.
Right.
So then I just bought all of the equipment to kind of press my own stuff, started designing, and here we are. And now I print some of my own stuff. I have 3 labs that I like print on demand that do the hoodies and jumpers and t-shirts and things, and then I accent it with like products that I love, which until recently I was doing wholesale, keeping it all in my spare bedroom. Well, a 3-story house and me with these giant boxes, I just couldn't cope. I don't drive. I had to take 50 parcels to post office every week. So now I've switched that to using the same company, but I drop ship everything.
Right.
And it's honestly just such a transformation, because there's no like, all my overhead costs kind of went overnight, other than like buying the blanks for the things that I print.
Yeah.
It's just been a game changer, really, and less worrying. And I'm one more step closer to being a digital nomad.
A digital nomad.
What I always wanted to be, digital nomads, where you live the lap stops, right? I have a tumor on my parathyroid, and it disrupts my thoughts. So sometimes I can't speak in full sentences. So bear with.
That's all right.
Yes, bear with. I was supposed to have something done with it, but COVID. So it's still there at the moment. The people who you see who live the laptop lifestyle, got it all right there. They're up there by the pool in Tenerife, but they're running functioning businesses.
Yeah.
Well, I'm nearly there.
Is that the goal then?
Yes, because my children have left home, and there's just me and the cats, and there's plenty of people to come and see to the cats. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I still have to come back to do the photography. I'm still going to make some stuff. I set up an Etsy so that I could retain, because I'm probably going to sell the rest of it in June or July, but I'll be able to retain the stuff that I make myself. I think that's my next move.
And is the plan to travel and take loads of photographs, I'm guessing?
Well, yeah, because I already sell the ones that I take. I look for colourful places.
Yeah. I've just looked at your Instagram, Mandy. A feast of photos you've got on there, mind, and you've got a real eye for aesthetics and how to, like, the buildings, the beautiful buildings that you've got are just phenomenal in the way that you photograph them. So, like, where did your passion for photography come from, do you think?
Well, I have no idea. Honestly, I found out after being told that I wasn't creative my whole life. Well, I don't have any ties to my family anymore.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, I was not creative. I had no imagination. And at 29, I had Luby, my youngest, and I decided to make my own Christmas cards. Mm-hmm. And I suddenly discovered I was super creative. Bought a camera. Yeah. Started scrapbooking. Got published. And then I ended up running a design team when scrapbooking was big, before the industry died out. And then my layouts were always in the magazines, and it was because of photography. So I thought, on a whim, as you do, that's a better hourly rate than £6.50 an hour. Uh-huh. I'll just start my own business. I was agoraphobic at the time, and I didn't really have anything to lose because I was on a disability benefit. Like, I literally couldn't leave my house. I didn't leave home for about 3 years on my own. And when I was first starting as a photographer, I would take, at the same time I was taking Luby to the park for protection, because she's 3 years old, but you wouldn't mess with her. Same now. You wouldn't mess with Luby. And then I shot my first wedding, 750 Asians and me. It was like a baptism of fire. I think I only had like 2 weeks notice They paid me £400 for 3 days, 3 12-hour days.
Right.
Let's put that into context now. If I go to someone's wedding for 2 hours, I charge £450. So let's just put that into context. First wedding, the hottest day of the year. The Sunderland Sikh Centre for part of it. It was in 3 stages.
Yeah, it's like a week-long celebration,
Yeah.
isn't it? Sometimes, yeah.
What they hadn't told me was that it was an arranged marriage, and the bride cried through the entire first day. Now, they're supposed to cry. They're not, if they get told off if they look happy, because they're leaving their fathers, and they're supposed to be upset about that. I think it's called the Kalima or the Halima. I can't remember the third part where it's reception. That's when they're allowed to be happy. But it was basically 3 days of just photographing people greeting the couple or eating with the couple. I don't photograph people eating. That's in my contract. I will not photograph you if you're eating. Nobody wants to see your Auntie June with spinach in her teeth. 3 days of everything that I don't do now. And I thought I was going to pass out because it was so hot at the last part,
Yeah,
the big reception. And I just thought, right, this is it. This is like implosion. There's a method in psychology called implosion flooding, which gets like, you can either take your worst fear and you can either introduce it gradually, you know, like putting a note around that says banana or spider or whatever. Bananas for me. Bananas and spiders, definitely. But then implosion flooding is the exact opposite. Your worst fear, crowd it in, sink or swim. And luckily, I decided to swim. And then I think it was all pretty downhill from there, really. I think that was the best first wedding that I could have ever had. The couple are still together. I know that they've got children. They're happy. You know, like who are we to say that arranged marriages are not the way to go? Like, I'm not exactly an expert on marriage myself. Like, you know, like everything brings us to the place that we are now, so you can't have any regrets. But when I mentor people to be photographers, the first thing I say is, you need to go to weddings for about 2 years and shadow someone before you do it yourself.
right.
Because you don't want to have to do that. And I was terrible. Like, I sort of had an eye for photography. I didn't have the best equipment. When I thought I was good, I joined this kind of forum with all of the top wedding photographers in the world, and they ripped me to shreds. They critiqued me. Like this one guy, I cried for about 2 weeks, but then the stubbornness in me, you know, my granny's granny was a suffragette, so like my family are like strong women, and I got better. And it took me about 8 years to not have imposter syndrome and to know that I was good. But I can say to people now, like, I know that I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
I can't say that about the boutique yet, because it's such a different type of business. I thought, because the boutique's my third business, I owned a network, an organization in the middle of that. Yeah. So I thought I'd covered all of those business skills, and I certainly have a lot of them, like the photography, the writing about it, the social media. But it's like, don't start a business in a pandemic. Because I did. But you know, like, all of the trends that you go on to predict things that are going to happen in the last 2 years, those trends have been so, like, there's just nothing. You just don't know what's coming next.
Yeah. And talking about trends then, Mandy, you have a huge following on Instagram, right? So if anyone wants to go and check out Mandy's Instagram, go and have a look. It's lush. You've got some beautiful photographs on there.
It's my happy place.
Well, you lass are smashing TikTok, right? You got over 50,000 followers. I just need to set the scene here with TikTok with me, right? We've had a bit of banter about it in the lounge, but for people who's listening, I've got a very addictive personality, and I have to. It's all or nothing, right? So I always say, like, master a couple of your bread and butter platforms before you go on to something else. And I was like, I need to get on this TikTok. And I know I'll be brilliant on TikTok, but the amount of time it would take me to sit, because I would have to have the perfect videos here, then. And I did it for a month. And I just thought it was eating up so much brain space and so much of my time. I thought, because I've got such an invested community with the lounge and with where my families are, with the kids' books, it was like, it was a no-brainer for me to step away from it and concentrate on my communities. So I'm like really interested to know how you've done it. How have you done it?
So I have a like really different approach to social media than anyone else, because I use every single platform differently.
Yeah.
So my first platform was Twitter in 2000. Yeah, 2008. There was a community in Newcastle on Twitter for about 400 people, and I was in the tech community at that time. Like, they were the people that I networked with, they were the people that I knew, so they were on Twitter. And if I didn't have any like work coming up on the weekend, I could put it on Twitter and get like people to have photo shoots. It was crazy. You could not do that now. Like, Twitter's almost too big. So I'm of the generation that birthed social media. So I joined Facebook in 2007, but I think I joined Twitter shortly after, and I still love Twitter, although I use Twitter to just have rants about the government. Like, that is my platform. Like, I have no problem with anyone knowing that I'm like a left-wing feminist. I mean, that's pretty obvious after you've spoken to me for about 5 minutes. But and I'm pretty honest on all of my social media, like brutally, because I just have an inability to be anything else, you know.
Yeah. I think it's quite right you thought, to be honest. I love the fact that you're honest. I think it's great.
Well, I think I wasn't with photography. I tried to be what I perceived people wanted me to be. And I totally blagged it for a couple of years, until one day I was sitting in the house of someone who flew helicopters for a living, and their wife to be landed helicopters. They were like, right. Now, can I just say, some of my best clients, who I absolutely adore, they live in a whole other house. They flew the drifters in for the birthday party. It's not that I can't like exist in that world, and they're totally lush. But these people, I think I put my prices up so much that they were probably maybe about £1,000 more than I charge now, 10 years later. And it was like, I like just had invented these things off the top of my head. You know, you got all your photographs on an iPad. They were all preloaded. There was a big trend towards it. And a lot of the American photographers who were like at the top of the game, that's what they were doing. And because I'd existed in their world, I thought I could do it too. And I was good by that time. And she just went, I'm sorry, can you leave? Not feeling it. Right. And I went home and I just thought, oh, I can't do this. I need to be authentic. I need to be who I am, and I don't want to exist in that world.
Yeah.
So I put all my prices down. Yeah. Started booking better weddings, and then just after that, someone asked to do a newspaper article on me, and I was talking about bipolar, and I lost so much business that year because people didn't want to have the woman who was going to have a breakdown at their wedding. Right. This was 2010. We were still not talking about mental health. Yep. And we were still just not understanding, especially things like Stephen Fry did so much good when he did a documentary about having bipolar. Like, it just told the world that people, just because you've got any kind of neurodiversity or mental health, you're still brilliant. It's just you've got like extra things that you have to deal with. And, you know, if you have diabetes or you're in hospital with something serious, there unfortunately still is a difference in the way that we treat physical and mental health, but it just made me more determined to be who I was and to talk about it so that people would know that I might be falling apart on a Wednesday. I might not be able to get out of my house, but when I come to your wedding on a Saturday, I'm going to rock and I'm going to be the calmest person there. And that's my superpower. Like, it doesn't matter how ill I am in any respect. On a Saturday, I'll be the calmest person in the room. I can't get out of my house some days, and I don't even understand how it works. But when I've got a wedding, that's one of the few times when I have a wedding and when I travel, they're the times when I don't have anxiety. So weird.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because you would think that being in crowds of people would cause your anxiety to go through the roof.
I think it's still like a bit of an act. I think that part where you have to corral 275 people on a Saturday afternoon, I still go into like a comedic routine because I want to get them on side and I want to do it. I want to be absurd, but I want to make them laugh. So I guess it's kind of like, it is me, but it's kind of a slightly different version of me, but I'm very much more authentic now. I mean, I used to put on accents. Someone thought I was from South Africa once. What am I doing?
What's
so
the
what? Now I just go and I think I tried to run away from my Geordiness.
I've done it before, mind. I have to say, when I worked at the bank for 18 years and I was put into some situations where imposter syndrome would kick in massively, and I think it was because I was trying to hide the fact of me upbringing, like the fact that I was from a little pit village and I was in these meetings with chief executives from London. I just felt so out of my comfort zone. So I know I get where you're coming from with that, but since I've stopped doing that, completely changed.
Oh yeah, right. That's the thing. Like, the more authentic you are on social media, the more authentic the stories that you tell, then the better the people are gonna, your people. That's how you're gonna find them. They're gonna gravitate towards you. And that is like the most important message. Stop trying to be the person that you think you should be, and just be the person that you are, and be it all. Too much we don't talk about our real lives in business, because we think, oh, you can't say that. But actually, I did a video in January-ish. No, was it the end of January? About poverty isn't what you think it looks like. Like, because of COVID and everything else, like, I literally had no savings by the end of December, and it got to the point where I didn't know if I could top up my gas and electric, and I was already living on a food waste hamper that cost like £15. And you know what January's like for retail, it's just it's dead. And the rising cost of energy and everything else. And I just thought, again, you know what, people need to know poverty isn't what you think it looks like. And a woman said to me, oh, you don't know what poverty is? That's being homeless. No, there's different types of poverty. Mine's situational and it will improve. And mine is also like a bit of a clusterfuck, because I have like thousands of pounds worth of photography equipment lying around, but I can't do anything with it currently. Like, I can't pay my gas and electric, but I can't sell that equipment because I know I'm going to need that equipment. Mine was a very short-term thing, but it's very scary. But I thought, you know what, we need to talk about this because people need to know. And she said to me, oh, well, you know, if you were disabled, you would understand how much worse that is if you've got any kind of disability. And someone who I've known for a long time, who's been a friend and a client, she went, the fact that you've just said that means you don't know Mandy at all, because you don't actually know that you've just said it. And that I just shared a photograph of me with my disability lanyard on and said, actually, you're right, because that's exactly why we don't see poverty, because we make snap judgments about how someone looks, or the fact that they're in a house and they're not on a street corner. or the fact that they've just had their hair dyed, you know, like, so we just keep making those judgments. And until we understand that actually poverty is so real now, and it's affecting so many people, and not people who aren't doing anything about it, people who are working, who've got businesses, people who have kind of incorporated businesses that may be worth 100 grand, but they can't pay their bills. Like, it's poverty is completely different now to what it is. So I did that, and that opened up a conversation, and that made me really happy. And my latest conquest is to just try and smack Mark Zuckerberg in the face. Not literally.
I have seen some of the things that you've been talking about on Facebook, but going back to the TikTok part of it, and the fact that you're saying be authentic, and we hear that bandied about all the time, don't we, Mandy, about be authentic and share your life and do what you need to do to be real to people. Like, is that, what kind of strategy are you following on TikTok? I'm really intrigued as to how you've managed to do so well over there.
Absolutely no strategy at all. Well,
there's got to be some kind of thought going in there, man.
So TikTok's algorithm is amazing, right? It'll learn who you are in about a month.
Okay.
It'll show you those videos. I get very heavy cat videos, and that works for me. You either have to be talented in some way, you have to entertain, you have to inform, or you have to add value. It's not like Instagram stories. Like, when you go on Instagram stories, you'd be like, oh, hi, so the shopping came, and then I was doing my ironing, and people will watch that. Now, there is an element of that on TikTok, but mostly people are watching because you give them some kind of value. And it's why it's the hardest platform, I think, to exist as a small business, because that was never what TikTok was about. However, it can be very good for small business.
Yeah.
Because people kind of, once you build that community, people really get behind you. Like, I mean, I had something, I think it was in the end of October, and I said, like, I really thought it would be busier by now. Like, because again, you know, it was just that absolute mess of not knowing what trends, when do people start shopping for the Christmas shopping? You knew that in the past years, they don't do it any differently. And like within an hour, I think I'd had like £400 of sales. It's like just crazy.
That's what I was going to.
My strategy was just to go, and I think it's similar to what you've done in the Northern Lashes Lounge, where you go in, and for the first 6 months when you're building the community, you kind of don't ask for anything. You just give value, give value, give value, give value, and then you've built up a community. So when you say, right, I'm still going to give you value, but I'm going to attach a caveat to that. So if you want this value, then it's going to cost you like £5 or whatever. And because people have then bought into you, then it works as a strategy. People stay there. It's not sales, 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 sales. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make on social media. It's hard when your page is about sales.
Yeah.
But you've got to kind of get people to engage. So yeah, my little thing with Mark Zuckerberg is that Mark Zuckerberg has just completely, like, he invented the algorithm. It's his company. And he was announcing about Reels being available on Facebook now. And he had to resort to posting the thing in the comments to get around the algorithm. So I'm just playing it in this game. And honestly, it works. That's my top tip now. Post whole conversations.
So explain this for people who haven't watched your TikTok video, which I did. I clicked on that one. Explain what you mean here with it.
So because Facebook values comments more than it values the post. And there are like a number of banned words that you cannot write on your Facebook posts. You cannot write 10% off. You cannot write buy my stuff. And sometimes you really need to write, I'm going to have a big sale and you're going to buy everything. Like,
you cannot write.
There are times when you need that. There are times when you need to say, like, I need to buy shoes. I need to buy school shoes. Like, just buy stuff. Because obviously if you buy stuff, a service, a good or anything, they still need a buy-in signal. So it's very hard to just get excited about stuff, but there's no buy-in signal. TikTok have done it now. If you post link in bio in the comments, nobody can see the comments. Now I'm in a group with TikTok. And this is how I ended up making stuff happen at Facebook, because I ended up being an ambassador for Facebook. I mean, it didn't end well, but because they couldn't build their ambassadorship program because they couldn't get their posts seen. So when they were giving us posts to post in our big groups, network organization, big groups, really, really helpful information, nobody was seeing it. So it just died. Their group that they started themselves, we used to say, we're not seeing your posts, they're not coming up. And they used to say, oh, well, have you turned on notifications? We're like, say, yeah, we've got them all on and it's still not getting through. Their algorithm is now working against small business.
It's because I'm going back to the fact that you were an ambassador. I'm in a group with Facebook called the network leadership or whatever. And they keep asking for feedback about it. And I'm like, it's terrible. So they don't know how to build communities. They give you all the tools, but they don't know how to use them.
Yeah. No, they just, well, again, Mark Zuckerberg knows that he has to post in the comments to get his post seen. Like, that to me just says there's something very wrong. Facebook are thinking about leaving Europe, and it's because of the privacy laws. So when I first started my business, the boutique, I used Facebook ads quite heavily, and I used them on the conversions thing, and they worked perfectly. I could literally put one post a day on travel, which is the thing I love to do, and then I'd still get like 7 to 10 orders a day. At one point, I think I was spending like £70 a day. I think in my time since Facebook ads have launched in 2010, I've probably spent over £50,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I accidentally made £30,000 in 3 months when they first launched, because you could reach. It was an experiment. It was like you could reach 50,000 people for £6. They blew all of these small businesses up. I mean, smaller than mine, these little niche businesses, and then they killed them all by switching up that algorithm. And then it was on a pay to play. Now I don't care. I will pay if I think that I'm going to end up making a profit in the end. I've done some TikTok advertising. It does work if you can get the right video, because on TikTok it's all about content, whereas on Facebook it's just about paying. But it's not about paying anymore. I spent like 100 quid, did exactly the same things, and I not only did I get no return from it, they suppressed my organic reach. So the people this community that I built up, they weren't seeing my posts. So we went from say 3 to 5 orders a day to 3 orders in 1 week. It's so broken. But on TikTok, it's about creativity. It's about that creative. So to advertise on TikTok as a business is $20 a day is minimum. You can't just do it once. But if you've got good creative, it can make you a lot of money. But I am creative, but I sometimes can't get my head around something that I need to do. It's to come up with those ideas constantly. Whereas I just did TikTok for my own self. I made loads of Christmas things. I made rhubarb gin. It's been seen like over 500,000 times. The Americans lost their mind because they think that you must be a millionaire if you just can grow rhubarb. Apparently rhubarb is very expensive in the US. And they also couldn't believe that rhubarb wasn't pink, because it's not really pink here. Once you peel it, it's pink in America because it's forced, and that was just a spiral. But I was also just making loads of different flavored alcohols. It'll be interesting to see whether you can still achieve greatness doing that, because they're just about to change their community guidelines, and they say that they're not going to push things that encourage alcohol use, although I don't think making flavored alcohols the same.
What is your what's your demand like over there then? Do you get quite a few orders from TikTok now?
It depends. Like at the moment, I would say it's hard to predict, because I only joined TikTok last year, and I think we're in Q1.
50,000 followers in a year. What you doing, last man?
No, I got 50,000 followers in about 8 weeks.
Wow.
I just made stuff. I made, actually, do you know what it is? I made stuff. I made Christmas gifts, and I knew that people couldn't afford to spend lots of money on Christmas gifts. But what it ended up doing was that I changed my TikTok a little bit. So I started to introduce the things that I was making, and it gave me a lot of orders from there.
Yeah.
So then I think I had my first 5K month organically in November, like without paying for any advertising. That's like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, if all it's going to take is time and creativity, why aren't you doing that? You know?
I know.
So yeah, but I think as I just had fun with it, and I didn't kind of have a strategy, although I knew the basics. Like, so if I decide to learn something, I know everything about it within about 6 weeks, because that's how my brain works. It becomes my specialist subject. It was the same with Facebook. I've got ads. I've got qualifications in Facebook ads. They don't work.
You were having a conversation with somebody in the lounge a couple of days ago, and I saw that you had qualifications and stuff.
Yeah, I went to Facebook. I did some training, and they encouraged us to pay to do the ads, man. And then would be like certified by Facebook. I should have brought my glass trophy. I've actually got a trophy from Facebook. And yeah, they don't work. My friend was a Facebook ad specialist for multi-million-pound businesses. And in July, when everything changed, suddenly she changed her business. Now she trains Facebook ad specialists. She knew exactly what was about to happen.
Ooh.
She's now making money from coaching, which everyone's making money from coaching, or coaching coaches to coach the coaches. That's what I need to do next.
But you've also saying, you've touched on it a few times, Mandy, that you are, I think what your words when you wrote into the show was, you're pretty good at building communities, and it's evident that you are. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit more, because you've been in the lounge now since November 2020.
Ooh.
And there's no secret that you were involved.
Robin Bordrick.
I was going to say, I don't know how you came in. And the reason I'm asking this is because obviously there's no secret you've been involved in a similar type of business network and company, right? And I'm just intrigued as to what you get out of the lounge.
So, I mean, I've been involved with that community since pretty much the day it started, and ended up running a group, and then ended up buying the company, or ended up owning the company. And so it gave me a really good feel for how to do things well and how to not do things well, because I've been in loads of different networking organizations and things, and some of them suck. I mean, some of the ones that charge the most tend to suck the most, I think, as well. And so I was talking to Robin. So Robin used to also be involved over there. She was one of my group leaders. Robin's like my surrogate daughter, because she's not that much older than Abigail and Lou, but she's one of my best friends, and I just adore her.
Robin, singing Robin,
coaching Robin, she social media Robin, she's another one. In fact, we're going to Night of the Living Dead, the musical, tonight.
I saw on your socials. Sounds interesting.
It's gonna be awful, but the worse it is, the better it's gonna be, I feel. No, but she she told me about the Northern Lasses Lounge, and we were really, when I was at the networking organization, we were really informal, and I had a policy of never wearing suits to meetings.
Yeah,
it's just not me.
Yeah,
doesn't mean I can't survive in a business environment. I don't personally think having pink hair makes you any less of a business leader than having regular colored hair, right? And we have a massive problem in society where people go for interviews and they go, oh, you can't do that job, you got a tattoo. Scary.
It's getting better now.
I think it is getting better. One day someone said to me on a thread, she said, you've just referred to me as lovely instead of my name, and you do that a lot. And I said, yes, because I always want to assume that people are nice. And she said, but it's very informal for business network. Well, maybe we need that change, maybe we needed something friendly. And so she added me, and I was like, some of them are so Geordie, I can't even understand them. But it has a really nice feel to it, and it has a really warm and supportive thing, because I believe in collaboration over competition, every day of the week. And a lot of those networks, I'm going to call them networks, have a massive issue with being gatekeepers. I will tell you everything about running a business, whichever business you want. I'll tell you how I set it up. I'll tell you about which suppliers I've got. I mentored a girl who, could have been a mum. That's how old I am now. I go to weddings and I'm the same age as the parents now. And she came along for a mentoring session with me because she's starting a business. And I said, look, I'll give you my preset. It took me 8 years to develop. I will give you that, and you can use it if you want. Because the thing that differentiate. The thing that differentiate.
Go on, you can do it. You can do
it. Differentiates. It's just sometimes the word gets stuck. Me from the next person is that I'm me and you're you.
Exactly.
That's your uniqueness. We could run 2 identical businesses. We're going to have different customers. We're going to run them in a different type of way, but it doesn't mean that we have to be gatekeepers that I mustn't tell Kylie anything, because otherwise she's going to have all the business in the whole world.
I couldn't agree more. And everything that I've been successful at, Mandy, has been down to sharing and helping people. It's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
That's how you succeed. You give people value in whatever business you're in. And in some businesses that can be harder to get your head around. Because you have to work out how am I gonna make your life better? How is buying this vase going to make your life better? Why am I, if you come to me for photography, why is it going to make your life better? We have to start. I saw something recently, and she said, if you start a post with I, stop it immediately. Change it to you. And I do think there's grounded in that. I think it's possibly one of the most important. It's like my rule about photography. If you take a photograph and it doesn't tell a story and it doesn't say anything, delete it.
Yeah.
If there's not, every single photograph should stand on its own, as a story. And that, especially with weddings, that's a lot to get your head around. But that's why I don't take photographs of the backs of people's heads, because there's a lot of that about. And photography is when I started in photography, it was a massive gatekeeping thing, and they hated women. The amount of times when I had a male photographer and they would assume that they were the person whose business it was and I was just the assistant. Just had to get over that completely. But yeah, I think just bring uniqueness and bring value to everything you do. It's like an authenticity, and you'll succeed.
So what one thing, and then we're going to get on to a juicy part of the show. What one thing would you give us? Because we're about to open our next level lounge up where it's a membership area. We've been planning it for months and months, loads of stuff going on. What one bit of advice would you give us? Knowing what you know, Mandy.
I'd just say build that community, because it's not you that'll get people to pay, it's other people that'll get people to pay.
Oh yes. How like word of mouth for the lounge is massive, huge.
Yeah,
like, I don't go and promote it much at all. I don't have to. It's other people bringing it in. You see them coming in all the time, and it's like invited by, and I'm like, whoa, amazing.
and that's free. Like, it's a free thing to do, to go and post something, to share a post. But you've got to tell your community that, because people don't realize. And that's something that I found out over the last week. I've just asked, can you like this? Can you share it? Can you, like,
people don't do anymore, do they?
Yeah. Well, no, because a lot of, if you're just like, if you don't have a business, you don't really know how these businessy things work. People still assume that they will see every post that you make on Facebook. People do not realize how much it is to advertise on Facebook. People need that reality check sometimes, you know. It's like, it's crazy. But yeah, just, I think keep giving value. I think it's hard because I did also run a paid community within the networking organization. And then you have the person who's running it, you have the pressure of, it feels like you've got to give more because you're paying for it.
Yeah. Honestly, the amount of conversations I've had with my business advisor, and she's like, do not feel like you have to give more. You're already given more than enough. Just the fact that you're not charging for your time. Look how much time it takes you to do everything. And I'm like, it was difficult at first. My man, I was like, oh, you feel a bit, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Yeah, it is. It's you would only know that if you've been the leader of a community. So this is like a tip from me to you. And also, like, plan so far ahead that it's ridiculous. Like, I'm very spontaneous and impulsive. It's good and bad, but I'm not a massive planner. My tip is, like, when you start like a membership club, or like if you were gonna sell something in a membership box, make sure you know what's going to happen next July, because anything can happen to you, and you might need to walk away for a while, but if someone can pick it up and just have your content, I know that you, and also don't try and do everything yourself, because you want to be able to have when you start any business, the first thing you should think when you start that business is, what's my exit plan? So I always knew my next thing would be to buy a caravan and let it out. That's my next business. So always have an exit plan. What are you going to do? Are you going to stay being in this community when you're 93, Kylie, doing lives every single morning? Like, never build a business that's 100% about you. That is really hard, and that's something I've learned from photography, like Mandy Charlton photography. It's a massive thing. I had an amazing assistant for 8 years, and I tried to make her like an associate photographer, but the reason that people wanted to come to me was because I was Mandy Charlton. That sounds terrible, but it's just, my name is attached to it. So why would we want to go to a business that is attached to someone's name but have someone else, because we feel like they're not as good? And it didn't matter how much I pushed her, we just couldn't grow it that way. And I think if it had been just called like visage photography, it might have been different, but it was my first business, and these were the things that I've kind of learned since. Don't make a business that's 100% centered around you, because what if you're sick? What if you want to take a month off to go traveling?
I can't see it happening in my life because I can be totally honest. And you said there about knowing what your next exit is or your next plan. I don't think I've got an end goal, right? I honestly don't think I have. I think I'll always be doing. It's the whole being in this moment. I love it. I love it. I love the building things. I love the process. I just can't. If I'm not doing it, I think I'd be more anxious not doing something. But great advice around not being just you being the sole person of a business. I think that one of the biggest impacts I've had is bringing people in. Do you know what I mean? Into a team. I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I didn't have a team around us.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be doing it. It's a fact.
Yeah.
And thinking about the team, Mandy, we are on to part of our podcast, which is called OYI Lass, where I have asked the team to provide questions for you.
Oh my goodness.
It could be anything, mind. I'm gonna pick one out just for you, and it is from our Mirren, the branding queen. She said, oh, I like this one. What is your favorite place to visit?
The Highlands.
Oh.
Highlands in Scotland. I find myself every time I go, and the way that I get over agoraphobia is to just travel very far away.
Right.
Whether that's Scotland or Spain. So whenever I start to get really agoraphobic, I go traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And I might not be able to go to Morrison's down the street,
Mm-hmm.
but I could get on a plane tomorrow. Well, I'm trying to build up to that, having an adventure next week, and I'm a bit like at the moment, but I'm going to do it. But yeah, the Highlands, it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And if I want to be artistically inspired, it's somewhere like London. There's so many colourful places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to the Highlands for the first time. Was it last year? Last year. And I have to say, I've never been anywhere so beautiful in my life.
It's just,
I'm like, this is just up the road. How did I not know about this? When you go through that valley with all of the
Glencoe.
Oh God. Lush, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just places where you can't get a phone signal. It's probably my second answer to that. You know, like when you go to Kielder, if you need a half an hour or an hour off life, go to Kielder. No phone signal. Amazing. Your brain just goes like, oh, I've got a brain.
Oh, well, we go.
I have like online stuff when I start my business. My first smartphone was like a BT smartphone.
I'm taking the Ben and Gaz down to. We booked it 2 years ago. It's a tree house. It's like a hobbit hut in the tree. It's in Wales, right next to Snowdon. So we're going down there. Little did they know, Mandy, that there's no electricity and there's no Wi-Fi. It's all a log burner and it's all candles. They're going to be like, for two nights. I'm like, I bet you my husband nicks off into a hotel. Ridiculous, isn't it?
They'll pay it for the first half an hour and then they'll just go wild. And you'll not get them back. They'll be rubbing sticks together, everything. That's what I think happens. I go through this initial shock where I'm like, on to social media, and then when you get back, you're like, oh, I don't want to go online because I just know how.
Yeah, man. Mandy, this has been amazing. Thank you. We've been talking for an hour, mate. An hour.
I stopped doing things like this a lot because I really lost confidence in for the last kind of year. Things have been banned, and I'm just kind of coming out of this massive quagmire of depression, and so I'm just forcing myself to do stuff like this again, and I really enjoy it in the moment. I just get just before it. Yeah, I know, it's been great.
Amazing tips, like you're full of knowledge. But let us know where can our listeners find you? Where's the best place to go?
Well, if you're just in it for the daily day-to-day stuff, I am Mandy, your TikTok mum, on TikTok. I'm Mandy Charlton on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And then I've got obviously Facebook pages for Mandy Charlton Photography and Philomena's Boutique. Yes. I've got a blog as well, which is just Mandy Charlton photography blog. There's like a list, isn't there? There's like a list. That's the problem.
I'll put them all in the show notes for you, not a
Yeah.
problem, so that people know where to come and find you. But thank you so much for today. It's been brilliant and lush lounging with you.
All right, take care. Bye.